United Nations decided that 15th July would be the World Youth Skills Day. And India also, the government of India started the Skill India mission the year after, in 2015. The time that we are in, the whole issue of how to skill the youth has become a unique challenge. According to the United Nations, more than 2 out of every 3 people are challenged in how they are getting skilled. And the solution that has been found for most of us, just like we are speaking today, is using distance learning techniques, using technology in most cases. But that is easier said than done. The availability of the infrastructure for distance learning is not there in many parts of the world. The skilling itself of the trainers and the trainees is a challenge. And we are doing this with significantly constrained resources, not knowing whether this is a short-term or a medium-term issue and how this will resolve and how we will flow from how skill is imparted today to how skill will be imparted next year and the year after that. So we have excellent speakers coming after me who can speak in far more detail and give us a little more clarity. The issue of skills is certainly a critical issue. The youth have a 3 times susceptibility, if I may use a word, of not getting a job. And this is not only those who are in education. This is out of education but looking for employment, is a significantly larger share than adults or people above 24. And among those people who are not getting employment, the poorer countries have a worse record than richer countries. And among the poorer countries, the poorer regions have a worse record. And especially for India, although it's probably true across the world, women have a bigger issue. So it is something that is a significant challenge. And we have to look for solutions to that challenge. This is a perfect storm, partly because it's happening with against a headwind, where the nature of the firm, the nature of the job itself is dramatically changing. You know, our parents, grandparents expected that they'll get a job after college if they were looking for a job, or even start a business after college. And that the kind of business or the kind of job would roughly remain similar. You know, my grandfather might have seen a typewriter in an office when he went in and a typewriter in an office when he stopped working. But already we are moving from different technologies and different roles that the automatic expectation that we will learn something in college and get the rest of the life can be spent using those skills, that is no longer relevant. So in that sense, the kind of job which starts at 20 and goes on till 60 is itself not relevant. So that is the headwind. And along with that, there is the whole process of the gig economy, the part-time work, outsourcing, offshoring, and now remote working, which in some ways will probably stay. I was telling Mr. Chajar about this new concept I learned thanks to him, about the virtual showroom, where we will have to show our products to customers in a virtual setting using augmented reality. Now, once a customer gets comfortable with that, will they want to travel even from, for a 4 or 5 hour flight that they were traveling within United States to come and see it in a physical showroom? So we don't know, once these new skills are learned, whether we will move to a faster, need to change from where we were from a skill perspective to where we need to be. And it is something that, successive generations in India um, really haven't solved the problem. India isn't a country where we can say that we have educated the number of people that we needed to educate, taught the skills for employment that we needed to teach. That has been a massive issue. The quality of, primary education, the kind of skilling, those are big challenges. And ultimately, as a country, we are very proud of our demographic dividend. But unless we can give them the appropriate skilling and make sure that they are earning a livelihood, that is not going to be a dividend. It will be something much worse. So I am greatly looking forward to hearing all the speakers. I have Mr. Chinoy, not only Secretary General of FICCI, but he comes with more knowledge about the subject than most people, because of his previous roles. So I would love to hear from him. And after that, we will have Mr. Agarwal, Principal Secretary, Technical Education, Government of West Bengal, to speak. It's just to mention that both the Government of India over the last 5 years and the Government of West Bengal has taken major steps in the skilling infrastructure. Today, the Prime Minister announced that there has been a skilling program across 5 crore youth, which is a massive number. In West Bengal, 153 polytechnics across the state has increased from 65 polytechnics in the last 10 years or 9 years. And the intake capacity has also doubled from around 18,000 to more than 36,000. There are 262 ITIs covering 150 blocks. So all of these vocational training, ITI training, all of the work that has been done in West Bengal, I would like to congratulate the government, both the Government of West Bengal for the work that has been done and the Government of India, recognizing that the work is just starting, recognizing the challenges are only bigger. So it's a great opportunity. Welcome to everybody on behalf of FICCI. I would welcome Mr. Dilip Chinoy, Secretary General of FICCI, to give his opening address. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chatterjee, Chairman of the West Bengal Committee of FICCI. It's a pleasure to be with all of you on this very auspicious day and the 5th anniversary of the World Youth Skills Day. So first of all, let me wish all of you who are in this skills ecosystem a very happy Youth Skills Day. There are at least 4 people in the panel that I recollect celebrated this very day with me and other members in Vigyan Bhavan in Delhi. And I think, if I remember correctly, Divya had unveiled a container-based skilling program, which the Prime Minister really liked, but then somehow got derailed when we moved to looking at physical inputs rather than the outcome. But anyway, it is a pleasure. All of the panelists, I think I have met you more than 5 times each individually. So I welcome each one of the panelists there. I'm also like to welcome Mr. Anup Kumar Agarwal, because it was in 5 years ago when I think Mr. Sanjay Mitra was the Chief Secretary of West Bengal that we actually had our first meeting on skill development, where this plan of rolling out these polytechnics in each district, and also later on when we met Dr. Amit Mitra about the special jewelry, gems and jewelry park, which is having the 5th floor as their skilling center was discussed. And I have known Dr. Narendra Sham Sukha for quite many years, and also in self-disclosure, also know Kalyan Debnath, the CEO of the Peerless Skills Academy, other than the CEOs of the sector skill councils. And I don't know, Rohit, I know actually Rahul Mehta, I don't know if you know, but Mr. Chatterjee has led a great effort on the furniture industry in India today. And just yesterday, in a conversation we are having, we talked about the skills. And even day before, in fact, in another conversation we were having, we talked about skills. So it's great that you are connected here. So very warm welcome to each one of you. I think in my balance 3.5 minutes, I like to make 4 points. The first is that due to COVID, something which was not looked about very affectionately was this whole thing of using a digital medium for skilling has actually come onto center stage. The second is that because a lot of people had invested in physical infrastructure for skill development and their payments were linked to completion of batches or some physical outcome, many of those skill development organizations are stranded with very precarious cash flows, outstanding payments from government agencies, and a lot of students are stuck without the assessments being complete or without the courses being complete. So the one thing that we can resolve on this very auspicious day is let's find a way to get the whole ecosystem actually complete what needs to be completed, pay what needs to be paid, and then look at the new way of doing things together. It's very simple. You can do online assessments. You can do the theory part online. The 250,000 gram panchayats are connected by fiber. We have all the 5,000 railway stations that have digital optics. Digital fiber. You can do a lot which can be there. Otherwise, you can even use your old 4G network. It's not a very difficult thing to do. The second is that a lot of assessors and a lot of trainers are actually sitting at home and really don't have much to do. Can we, and I know that the sector skill councils are here, can they move with the training providers, at the skill space or the university space, because Techno India is also here. Can we look at developing online programs for training the trainer, for training the assessors, and developing tools, digital tools that will help promote the whole ecosystem getting back into gear going forward? The third thing which I would like to actually suggest and here to the sector skill councils, the way the programs and the skill mission was scheduled 5 years ago, because we wanted to focus on entry-level jobs and entry-level things, it is now time to move beyond level 4, 5 and look at level 5, 6, 7, complete the competency and qualification packs going forward, so that and include more digital in it and do this in a rapid manner, so that we prepare the people who come out into the post-COVID era, or even in the current era, which we don't know when is going to end, because every time we see light at the end of the tunnel gets longer and the light gets fainter. So we need to actually understand how we can look at this, create the qualification packs for future jobs. And we have to go away from hours and minutes into micro credits and micro degrees and accumulation of digital skills going forward. So if I look at these three areas, one, enabling the current ecosystem to survive, revive, and thrive by looking at completing the uncompleted, paying the balances, and getting the whole thing doing. And state governments will also have to help, right? The second is, can we utilize the vast pools of trainers and assessors and upgrade their skills so they prepare them for a digital world going forward? And third is, look at the whole ecosystem and prepare qualification packs for the job roles that are going to emerge post-COVID. So these are the three things that three thoughts I would like to leave with you. Once again, thank you, Chairman Mr. Rudra Chatterjee, for having me here. Thank you, Maushmi and team, for putting this up. We actually have 244 participants. It's a phenomenal participation, and I would like to welcome each one of you and just say that FICCI would be happy to help you wherever you are in the country to address any issue that you have in the area of skills going forward. So thank you very much for joining, and back to you, Rudra.
Thank you, Mr. Chinoy. This was, call to action, explaining the landscape and how we will move forward. I love the idea of micro degrees and using each bit of you can start collecting tools for your knowledge and your job, and slowly accumulating the necessary credits to give you whatever degrees that you have. That will be a lifelong learning and continuous learning, which probably would be more available and accessible to a lot more people who can't spend 3 years out of a job to get a degree. I would love to have the views of Principal Secretary Mr. Anup Kumar Agarwal. He, as we just mentioned, has been in the forefront in developing many of the polytechnics and ITIs and the work that West Bengal has done. Mr. Agarwal, if he's joined, Maushmi, has Mr. Agarwal joined?
Yes, so yes, I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes, welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Rudra, and thank you, Mr. Chinoy and Maushmi, for inviting me for this web edition of the World Youth Skills Day celebration through FICCI. Mr. Chinoy has raised very valid points, and Mr. Rudra Chatterjee in his opening remarks has also mentioned about how can we go digital in terms of our skill development efforts and how the technology is changing. And the change in technology, how are we going to cope with it? In the government of West Bengal has been putting in a lot of emphasis on technical education, training and skill development sector. As Rudra mentioned, the number of polytechnics has increased almost twofold, and the number of ITIs have also increased considerably. We had a target of having one polytechnic in each subdivision and one ITI in each block, and we are moving slowly towards that. In fact, West Bengal is, I think, the one state which has successfully involved private training partners in running of ITIs. We have around 70 plus ITIs being run by the private partners. That is a unique PPP arrangement wherein we had invested in land and buildings, and the private partner invests in equipment and trainers, and the students are kind of paying partly government fees and partly they are paying higher fees to government is paying partly to the PPP partner for them to be viable. Now, one thing I would like to understand, in fact, I am a very new entrant to this sector. I joined in this department only in March, and after that we had this COVID situation. So my understanding is to that extent limited, although I have been in government for very long and I have seen this sector from other sides. One thing I am still trying to figure out is the audience of our efforts. The audience of our efforts, how much can we bring them to the digital forefront? I mean, there are issues about their own digital awareness. There are issues about their digital access, be it devices or the internet connectivity. So, and third thing, bigger than both these problems is the problem of converting skill development in digital medium. I mean, how can one teach running a lathe machine or cutting a tool through online system unless you do it yourself on a machine? It is very difficult to pick that skill. It's like driving on a simulator and driving on the road. And even in our skill development effort, we don't have good simulators. We might give certain videos where the machine is being shown and the different machining, welding, etc. is being shown, but that is very poor substitute of actual experience. And I don't know how much digital can we go. That is a big challenge, and I think this COVID will force us to become digital as much as we can, and we will all try to do that. In fact, in our government institutions and polytechnics, ITIs, and vocational training, we have converted a lot of instruction material into online. We have started e-learning. We are completing online video content for all the semesters for all polytechnic students. So we are making strides in that direction, feeling that it will bring good results, but that result is yet to be seen. So I am very open to understanding how can we bring digital into skill development on a large scale. Another thing which I have a little less idea is that how are we connecting the industry directly with the skilling effort? I mean, the National Skill Development Mission, and before that there was a National Skill Development Council and Authority. They kind of started on the supply-driven model, wherein we standardized, we had this National Skill Qualification Framework, and then sector skill councils were roped in to assess the candidates in the understanding that this assessment will help the candidates get the jobs in the industry after the assessment. But that has not happened as much as was expected. And what are the other models which we can look at wherein we directly work with the industry? One model which we are looking at, which is being implemented in few other states, is industries identify the persons whom they are going to hire, and our training partners, we fund the training partners to train those hirees, and then they are absorbed in the industry. This is called recruit, train, and deploy model. And we are kind of welcoming all the industry to come and work with us on this model, give us our feedback. We had a video conference a few weeks back on that, and we are still working on the model. If there are any inputs, we would like to welcome them. Another model we are working in ITIs is having industry set up center of excellences like Maruti, like Samsung, and others have created their own setup in the ITI, where our trainers are kind of trained, and then they train the trainees, and they are trained on the industry requirement from the day one. I mean, if somebody has to repair the dent on a Maruti vehicle, that person is trained in ITI, and then he can directly go and work in a workshop after his training is completed. So we are looking for participation from industry in this model, wherein the government provides the space. We provide trainers also who can be trained by the industry, and those trainers train the ITI trainees who can then be directly absorbed in the industry. They are ready from day one in terms of awareness of all the tools and equipment which are required. Apart from them, we are working on many other initiatives to involve with industry. We have been assessing the demand at the district level. We have been assessing what kind of indigenous job roles are required in West Bengal. And we have prepared NSQF job roles and got them approved from NSDA. And we are imparting those trainings. We are in the process of getting more job roles approved. So if some customized job roles are required in the industry which are specific to this part of the country, or some kind of customized training is required to be done in partnership with our ITIs, Polytechnic or PBSSD training partners, we are open to that also. In this post-COVID situation, one issue Mr. Shenoy raised about the payments. Now, this issue is not yet fully resolved. It is partly resolved. Wherever there were pending payments, we have processed many of them, but where the trainings are undergoing and the milestones are linked to assessment, etc., and those are delayed, there we have not been able to find a solution as of now, and we are uh, we are we are open to the suggestions, and we will work with the training partners to find some viable solution wherein all stakeholders feel satisfied. In this COVID situation, there was a lot of in and out migration. In West Bengal, we had more than 10 lakh in migrants, and the West Bengal government has done a kind of skill assessment of skill mapping of those migrant workers, and we are looking forward to working with industry for creating the job opportunities here. And we are also looking at upskilling, reskilling, and also involving them in self-employment opportunities across different schemes in the government. So Government of West Bengal is very much willing and open to work with industry in creating customized trainings which can help the industry hire the people trained for their particular needs. And we are open to work on the recruit train deploy model, where training is funded by Government of West Bengal, and the recruitment is and absorption is done by the industry, and that is there's some kind of a guarantee from the day one that that person is going to be absorbed after training. So these are the things which we are trying to do, and we would learn and do more after listening to your suggestions. I would once again thank Vicky and Moshumi especially to inviting me for this web edition of this conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. That was, we could understand the hard work that has been done and a lot of things that need to be done. It's an ongoing effort. Thank you for speaking to us and for so many participants to hear directly from you. Moshumi, would you like to take over and start the panel discussions?
Yes, sir.
So Moshumi, may I add that I have to leave at 5 o'clock. I have some other commitment, so
yes.
I'll be here till 5 o'clock.
Yes, no problem. I've in fact requested all the speakers to kind of say, and whatever details they want to share, we can always send it to you by mail later. Thank you. And sir, here I would just like to welcome all the panelists, and and we will all discuss. And Secretary has mentioned that if you are doing any digital initiatives in skilling, this is the right time to say this, and we will take it up from FICCI and communicate to the Government of West Bengal and any other initiatives and public-private partnerships. So should we begin with Mr. Kalyan Debnath, CEO, Peerless Skill Academy? Please unmute yourself, Mr. Debnath.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Agarwal, Mr. Shenoy, Mr. Chatterjee. Yeah. So I'll just take the cue from where Mr. Shenoy and Mr. Agarwal left. See, in this pandemic, two great lessons that you have learned is one, that there is an opportunity in adversities and we should maximize it. And second thing that you have learned, or learning rather, is that instead of getting exposed to our weaknesses, it is better to explore and reboot ourselves. Reboot in terms of, our life skill, reboot in terms of work-life balances, reboot in terms of any other, operating model that we are having. So if we just keep in mind these two great lessons, then whatever I want to speak about the challenges and the scope will be around this. Now, if you see the current landscape of skill development, there are three major stakeholders. One is skill giver, skill taker, and skill user. Unfortunately, we have been following this, from giver to taker, taker to user. It should have been the other way around. Means, there is a user of skill, taker gets in, so the taker is appropriately skilled for the user to utilize. The giver actually gives the appropriate skill. In the current landscape, although much has been done, there are a lot of institutions, there are a lot of other non-government organizations, there are polytechnic, there is vocational space, many space, but somehow this threading of user to giver has not come into surface so strongly. See, there are around 252 job roles as per NSQO framework and 38 sectors. Somehow industry is getting confused. Many of these job roles and the job role perception that industry is having is not matching. Mr. Shenoy has just indicated in the post-COVID scenario, there is a need for, I think, realignment of all these QPs that we are having so that that can match with the industry perspective. So my point of view, my entire discussion will be focused to how users perceive the skill development and how we can see and meet these challenges of the users. So matchmaking between users of the skill and the givers of the skill has to take place. So great thing would be let us try to reboot considering the opportunity space that we are having. Now, when we talk of rebooting, we must remember one thing. We must try to differentiate skilling from formal education. Like skilling should have 3 dimensions going forward. One is skilling for transformation. We have to transform a person. Now, we are talking of entry-level jobs in skilling. The person may be, high salary or in school level or even below school level. If you want to make them qualified, skilled to perform, go into professional world or match the professional, you have to have a lot of transformation process in place instead of giving simply domain skill. Second, skilling has to have 2 more dimensions now. One is skilling for escalation. Escalation means anybody who are skilled, a lot of skilled people, going forward, they have to escalate their skill to the next level because industry requirement, as I'll explain a little later now, is going to be different. Third is skilling for enhancement. Enhancement means I'm having in a particular job role, I have to perform always better. My benchmark has to elevate from the level that I'm having. I have to constantly upskill myself. So skill development environment should not only remain focused to skilling the way traditional skill will be doing, we should take care of transformation, escalation, and enhancement. Now, let's see if we say this we have to analyze what is the current industry reconfiguration that is taking place from the user's perspective. One is massive organization restructuring is taking place to reduce the cost. We know there's a joblessness scenario. So organizations trying to having massive organization restructure so the cost can be reduced. That may lead to some, some people may get jobless. Some people may have multitasking. So next is obviously industry is trying to have building multitasking capabilities within the workforce. And that would mean clubbing of several job roles into a single job roles. Nobody can say remain in a regimented environment, say, I'll not do this job. This is my role. Role is going to be all pervasive now. Third is obviously the thing that other 2 speakers have already pointed out, kind of digital revolution has taken place in 3 months, would have taken perhaps to take place in next 3 years had COVID not come into picture. Digital revolution, even we have seen in our environment, in a remote villages where tribal populations are there, we could able to reach, online classes, reach them. Online doesn't mean always, going to Zoom or Google Meet platform. So this reach is taking place. People are welcoming that. So obviously, this is eye-opener, and whatever you think of skilling has to keep this in mind, which has been well emphasized by other speakers. Fourth thing that is important is several process innovation and consolidations are taking place within industry. And taking cue from the 2 facts, one is social distance is going to be the norm in future, and digital revolution is taking place. So industries reorganize their processes and systems, which will throw open for new skilling in the skill development space. As a result, various new operating models are emerging, which was never thought of, or some of the processes which was thought of as the poor cousins in the operating model, these are considered as a frontliner model by many organizations that will throw open for new skill acquisition by the industry. That means those who are in the skilling development place, think of what kind of development is taking place and think of that kind of job role that we can decide. Next is obviously increasingly dependent on technology will take place because technology is going to be more relevant because all will try to reduce their cycle time so that they become cost effective and they can sustain their business model. So that would mean new tech.
Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Devnath. I have to keep a strict time because we have several panelists.
Yeah. So I'll just take 1.5 minutes. Yeah, please. Yeah. And then next important point is the human resource management is going to substantial change, and people will be investing more on trying to focus more on investment on HR resources. So what can we do? How can we actually maximize opportunities? I'll point out 5 or 6 things on this. One is traditional skilling has to be reorganized with bundling of multiple job roles, number one. Second point is there should be more industry and skill giver alliance to provide skill solution to the provider. The point that Mr. Agarwal has pointed out, that we should emerge as a skill solution provider rather than doing skill development training people. Upskilling, reskilling, and apprenticeship is going to emerge as the new skilling solutions. We should organize ourselves to provide that kind of skilling. Next is industry will be looking forward to getting ready resources. They don't have lead time. So we can think of a concept like finishing school and provide that kind of skilling. And last and more important thing, why should depend on job market for the skilling? Skilling to support self-employment, entrepreneurship is very, very important. So we can think of playing a role of a player in the supply chain integration process of the industry, so that industry outsource many of the things from Skill Development Institute, where we provide incubation support so that we can take a part to play in the supply chain integrations. So that would mean, I just sum up with two things. That would mean that let us reorganize everything with three dimensions in mind. Skilling for empowerment, number one. Second is skilling for employability, number two. And third is skilling with integrations to the industry users. I'll wind up with one of the quotes from Swami Vivekananda, because we are aligned to Ramakrishna Mission. Swami Vivekananda said, learn everything that is good from others, but bring it in, and in your own way absorb it, but never and do not become others. I think that is the great lesson with which I want to wind up. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Devnath. And now we would like to invite Ms. Divya Jain, Safe Educate Learning Private Limited. She's the CEO at a very young age. Divya, over to you. I know you have a lot of experience with sector civil councils and NSDC. And in fact, we have already written to the secretary saying that there is a loss of skills and little bit of learning needed on the logistics and the supply chain management in West Bengal. So we look forward, and I would request you to speak for 3 to 4 minutes. Okay, thank you.
Done. Thank you, Mosmi ma'am. Thank you for getting me on board and giving this opportunity to speak to this esteemed forum. I'd like to start by talking a little bit about the Secretary General and Dilip Chinoy sir. He's really been my mentor. 2013 is when he met me. Our family runs a logistics company, and I still remember I was working in skill development for logistics, and he actually welcomed me to set up Safe Educate, which is now one of the largest companies in logistics skilling and training. So it's really an honor to be here talking for FICCI. The other big memory I have is today. It's the 5th anniversary of the World Skills Day. Exactly 5 years ago, with Chinoy sir, I was pregnant. I was 9 months pregnant with my son. And we'd created a container school. So we'd basically taken scrap containers, shipping containers, and unko humne skill containers, we'd converted those into schools where people can get skilled. I think 5-7 years back, a huge impact was actually on creating the infrastructure, and that was about the buildings, etc. So we got this container school, and I was asking Dilip sir to come to Alwar to inaugurate it. And he said, but this is mobile, why don't you just transport it to Vigyan Bhavan? So we actually transported it to Vigyan Bhavan, and PM Modi ji actually inaugurated it. So it's fantastic. It's been 5 years, and I think a lot has changed. We've come a long way. When we started off, it was a lot about setting up systems, standards, setting up NSQF, setting up the councils. And I think in the past year, a lot of effort has been made in terms of putting schemes together, also putting a lot of infrastructure together. COVID has been good and COVID has been bad. So if I talk about my personal experience, I run 150 physical brick and mortar centers. These are huge campuses, almost 3 to 5 acres, where at any point of time, Anup sir, this will be interesting for you, is we have anything between 3 to 500, 600 students. So there has been a lot of skilling. We've done well. We've had a 99% placement rate. We're skilling 50,000 youth every year, sorry, not every month. And when COVID hit, everyone had to go home. So these are students in Gorakhpur, Barpeta, we're in Assam, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh. And हमारे सारे के सारे बच्चे, they had to leave their centers and go back home. And it was tragic, and it's been tragic. And as Dilip sir started off, we've had huge infrastructure and we don't know how to manage it. We have 150 trainers. And what we actually did very effectively is we moved to an online platform. It's called Safe Job. It's something I've been working on for the past 6 months. And we've had a fantastic experience where we've been able to connect our students to our teachers on a phone. So literally on a mobile phone, people have been logging on, doing the trainings and learning. So it is possible. Digital is the way ahead, but it's not about recorded content. Ye nahi hai ki recorded content and they can't go on and just learn. So you have to think about the person you're teaching. It has to be vernacular. Jo aapka trainer hai, if my trainee is in Orissa, the training also has to be in Oriya. मैं उसको इंग्लिश या हिंदी में नहीं समझा सकती हूँ. A Bengali person needs to be taught in Bengali with a Bengali trainer who understands where they're coming from. So I don't think the system changes. Your pedagogy stays the same. The NSQF stay the same. We possibly don't need the massive infrastructure. We can replace that with simple phones, and yes, it will work. And we can go vernacular, and definitely we need to go on board and train the trainers on how to deal with this. And again, we can have more conversations on how we've done this, and touch wood, so far it has been successful. The BBC did a small story on this, and we're quite happy with it. And of course, we do continue to use OGT for the actual skills. अगर आपको lathe सीखना है तो वो lathe की machine पे ही सीखेंगे. So keep the infrastructure together where 15-20 days can be online theory, and the rest we take offline. So those are my submissions, and I would like to say that really COVID has done something in 3 months that Amazon and a Flipkart spent 6 to 7 years figuring out. We've changed the way we learn. Teachers are more comfortable teaching. We are very happy doing this conference online, and even the students need to learn. So let's not miss the boat. Let's not miss this opportunity. And it's a time for change. Let's take this opportunity to change and grow, and not let it set us back. So thank you so much, ma'am. And so
thank you, Divya. And I know you are operating in 10 states. So my job is to bring you here. I'll be in touch with Secretary Technical Education and Training, Mr.
Yes.
Agarwal. We will be in touch with you because I really want to do some training with Safe Educate, and we'll take it forward from there.
It'll be a pleasure.
Yes. And
now, Maushumi, if I may just make a small point, is that your experience of doing this online training, logistics is something where maybe you can train a person what to do, what not to do through an online medium, and maybe the hands-on thing is not that high. So we have to look at different models which you suggested, like online theory plus OJT, and which is done at the industry, where industry also gets the kind of knowledge of the person, and that person has the knowledge of the industry, will, I think, go a long way in mitigating the situation. So we can look at these models, and we'll connect otherwise.
We'll do that.
Ma'am, just to put 2 points there, sorry, I'm getting this chance, 2 things.
Yes.
The army is actually teaching people through videos. They actually have small videos कि आप एक gun को assemble, unassemble कैसे कर सकते हैं. The second concept is something called flipped classrooms. उसमें हम बोलते हैं कि छोटे-छोटे videos होते हैं जिसमें आप बच्चे सीखते हैं, and we flip the classroom around जहाँ पे आप then you're doing more discussion, assessment, and like you said, sir, industry OGT based working. So
okay, now
we'll be open to all that. Only thing is we need to have that gun with the person to learn after seeing a video. So whether we can provide those kind of tools to people at their location, that is the main issue, which
absolutely
is a challenge. But maybe I'll not take too much of time, Maushami. I think
Oh,
you're
no
learning.
problem, sir. We'll do this another, because I'm very excited about, we have a very vibrant logistics committee. So I've been telling you. So now we
Yeah,
come
so we
to,
work on that.
yeah, we'll
I
do
think,
this. Now we come
Maushami, if I
to,
can come in here. Maushami, just 1 minute. Dilip here.
oh, sorry, yes.
Yeah. No, just Mr. Agarwal, I think what we'll do is we'll connect you with the Life Sciences Digital Council, Sector Skill Council, where they've actually created a 3D virtual training thing, because, to enter into a green room of a pharmaceutical manufacturing plant is very prohibitively expensive. So they use 3D technology to actually do that and teach people in a virtual environment. And only when they've mastered it are they allowed into the green room. So we'll also share that. And I think, I know that Mahapatra is also here, NK Mahapatra from the Electric Successful Council. I'm sure we add a lot of value to this discussion.
Yeah, Mr. Sinoy, in fact, we were looking at those AR and VR type of models, and we in fact saw one startup called Labster who has converted a lot of labs into virtual augmented reality type of thing. We are open to that. Only thing is these things need a lot of investment and a lot of refinement to develop. So whether we have those kind of people who are willing to invest and then kind of make available to people those models, we'll have to look at.
Sorry, Maushami, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yes, now I would request Mr. Rahul Mehta, and he is the CEO of the Furniture and Fitting Skills Council. And sir, just as a backdrop, FICCI has set up a national level committee on furniture. We have all the top guys, and the companies are there with us, from IKEA to Heritage to Godrej, and Mr. Rudra Chatterjee is chairing the committee. So we are looking forward to some skill projects, which I will let you know later. And Mr. Rahul Mehta is there from the Furniture Skills Council. Mr. Mehta.
Thank you so much, Ms. Ghosh. Apparently, I was part of the last meeting that happened for the furniture group, and I was really glad to see. It was really glad to see that so much was happening on that front. I'm sure a lot of people have read the BCG FICCI report, which had come out on the furniture manufacturing as a hub and how we can go about it. So taking that forward and these kind of association being formed to initiate the overall activity in that area is really good and really commendable and appreciable. So picking from some points that Mr. Chinoy also mentioned and Mr. Agrawal also mentioned, it is indeed a time that we have to put together the resources and the infrastructure that we have, whether it is in terms of wanting to go digital with the kind of infrastructure which is there in terms of fiber lines being presented, railway stations having Wi-Fi facilities and other things like that, or wanting to, the end goal being wanting to have training of trainers online, or more training online wherever it is possible, and focusing on the key aspects where the training is required, whether it is from the elementary level to going up higher the order. So starting from skilling in the schools to going up to the upskilling or reskilling initiatives. So if I were to sum it up and see what essentially as a skill council we do and what we are supposed to be doing and how we can add value, I would like to go to the basics again. So as a skill council, what is important in the country is that we need to identify the skill existing in the country, which we are not able to. If you were to see the stats of Germany or Japan or any other European country, they can tell you that we have a 70%, 80% skilled workforce, and also the category in which they are skilled, which as a country today we cannot. And a study by Labor Bureau showed that only 2.5% is our skilled, mapped manpower. So the most important part to begin with, first of all, is to identify these occupation standards and map them on the country. There are reasons for that, and I'll try to highlight that why it is important. Setting the occupation standards, first of all, creates a industry level single standard, one industry, one standard. Based on that, if you already start recognizing people who are existing in the industry, it does two things. One, it motivates them, because most of the sectors, and talking primarily about furniture and fitting sector, it is informally organized, it is unstructured, and that is why these job roles are not aspirational. So recognizing those people gives them motivation. It also kind of helps them, helps us identify those people. when we identify and recognize them, and it also creates an example for the rest of the people who are there and the youth which is there to see that these are also the career opportunities existing in this ecosystem, which was not the case earlier. So today, if we identify the standards on, let's say, furniture finishing or upholstery or carpentry, we would be able to identify those job roles existing in the country and also create an example for the youth that they can adopt these trades as a career option for themselves. In addition to that, while mapping this thing, we would be able to do assessment. So we would be able to connect and counsel as well, which will give us an understanding whether we need more of reskilling programs, upskilling programs, or we need more fresh skilling, which is demand driven, which has been a major, I would say, requirement at the time that, like the earlier speaker was also talking about it, that most of the ecosystem is being built in a way that it is not demand driven. And now the focus is shifting to it being demand driven. Because if I were to say and talk about the industry, I come from the manufacturing side of the industry, and we have demand. In the furniture industry, we have demand for the skilled workforce. But the overall ecosystem it runs the other way around. There is a training partner, they are applying for the training programs, they are doing the training, and then they don't have the direct connect with the industry, which is kind of, again, having that dislink which is there and not able to serve the overall purpose. So once we do this thing, what will happen eventually is that we would have an understanding of fresh skilling, upskilling, reskilling, and we would be able to use these occupation standards in all the different types of categories where we need to actually upskill, reskill, or do a fresh skilling, which is in schools, which is in colleges, which is through apprenticeship programs, which is through the OJT part of it. And now coming to the part of the digital side of it, and also how we can use the digital platform given the COVID situation and how long it will continue. So I totally agree with Mr. Agrawal that not everything is possible online. Yes, there can be an element of theory wherein we can teach simulation, we can teach what is the tool about, what is the the furniture about, what is the industry about, what are the different types of things involved into it. But we definitely need an OJT. So as a solution, what we can do at this point in time, and I would like to see the glass half filled, is that every program requires some element of theory in it. So we have to break it into two parts, theory and practical, see what all we can do in terms of theory during this period and capitalize on that. And connected with the apprenticeship options which are available, connected with the OJT options which are available. So maybe a minor twist would be required in the overall execution plan, and that would serve the purpose and help us gear up better for the kind of times that we are in at the moment. With that, I would like to thank you all for giving me this opportunity and allowing me to express the views from the Furniture Fitting Skill Council. And we would definitely, again, I would like to say, Mr. Chinoy and Mr. Chatterjee, that we would be more than happy to provide any kind of support that is required in the furniture group and take the initiative forward to engage more and more industry players and have the right kind of inputs to develop right manufacturing hub in the country. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Mehta. Now I would like to call upon Mrs. Manushi Roy Chaudhary. She's the co-chairman of the Techno India group. And Techno India needs no introduction in Bengal. They have got, I think, over 100 campuses. Over to you, Manushidi.
It's a very good evening, and celebrating the Youth Skills Day. This is the best time we feel that we should go digital with the skill performance from the students. And when Techno India is working with its colleges, its schools, its ITIs and college computer centers with almost 90,000 students all around India, we feel that, it is very important that the term for skills, it is key. It is KEY. And it says, keep educating yourself. And skill is the unified force of experience, intellect, and passion in their operation. So only the people, I believe that only the people who take learning growth and skills development into their own hands will be tomorrow's leaders. This COVID situation has taught us a lot. Initially, the first 7 days, everyone was so anxious, so curious, and stressed to know what will happen next. But COVID has only helped us to understand the opportunities that we can take out from a situation where we are really stressed. And in these days, we took up to skill education. Now, in our colleges, in our universities, we started with sanitizer productions, which was very essential in those days. The teachers were there, the students were there, and liters of sanitizers were used, sent to the medical units, to the offices, so that it can help to sanitize them. The schools were closed. So the group T staff, mainly the ladies, the ayahs for the children, they started making masks. And the art teachers, they have started designing the masks so that maybe we can make it attractive to the public, general public. Then comes what to do with the normal classes. So came online education. And believe it or not, initially everyone was so stressed how to go ahead. But ultimately, taking help from Google Classroom, from ZX, but ultimately our TIG Connect, our offbeat education had produced our own LMS for learning, one for the college, one for the schools, and the teachers were all trained so that we can give online education to the students. While giving this, starting with this online education, one very severe problem which we faced was many students, at least 15% students couldn't be connected. Two reasons. One was the connectivity problem, where we couldn't connect because the students were from such zones. And the second was the parents. They are not having maybe a smartphone. Maybe they are taking the smartphone out for their business purpose, and the child is left alone. Does not know. She wants to do the class, but she doesn't know how to go ahead. I would really have, we are already working on it, but at least it's a request. We are trying many ways because it's almost 90,000 students getting affected by education. So almost 80,000 we are reaching, but what about the next 10,000? Can we do something by which we, the normal education which is being brought about, can be reached to every student for whom the content is made? And while going through, another very important point which we felt was, it's the online education depends on two factors. One is technology. Well, we are definitely developing it. It's our own LMS. We are going ahead. But the content, a normal teacher teaching in the class and a teacher teaching online on a virtual platform, huge difference. So this content is being produced by the teachers, and it has come to such a level that our students, many of our students from the schools have requested that please only give our teachers for the classes. Give those classes which our teachers are taking and specially designed for them. That means somewhere we have been able to touch the students through their contents. Another very important part we feel is, skill is also about the curiosity, the innovativeness which is generated, the entrepreneurship courses. And in our colleges, just 1 month back, we had a hackathon. It was a huge success where entrepreneurship, innovativeness was tested. And I would definitely like the 20 teams which were selected all around from the total state, they had gone for excellent teamwork and wonderful products which can be used in the hospitals, which can be used in the classrooms, and even in the farming, even in the normal communication, that is the buses. So I feel that if we can, get the help from the government and be beside these teams, then we can go for entrepreneurship. We do not have to complain about jobs and placements from the other companies, so that the students can believe in themselves and build up startups, new businesses, and give opportunities to the other team members of their team. Another very important point which we felt was that the students are going through their summer vacation and they were not having their classes. When we planned that, why not go for the singing, the dancing, the yoga, and the elocution classes during these 15, 20 days when they spent their summer vacation. And the parents were so happy that the students not only enjoyed those classes, they learned extra maybe songs, but the most important point was when a singing teacher, he sang the Bande from Aryadaho school, and the students, it was posted and it went so viral in those times that ultimately it was a hit of almost 2.5 lakhs. So we even started Mono Sheets, that is our mental health platform, where a team is there 24/7, connecting with students, teachers, parents. That is the most important part, where they had to be motivated. They had to be let know that this time will also pass. And yes, we were successful. Every student, every parent who was disturbed, connected, and we could at least, give a tap on their shoulder to say we are there. So I think there are many ways by which we can take up the skills, develop them, and this is the best time when we get this opportunity. Think once more. Maybe we couldn't have thought of it in our normal days 3 months back, but at this moment, it is the right time. If we can work together and we can make the people all around, being a country which is, rural based, we can convince the people all around to say that the education system is not only for the premium schools, for the established families, but every family, every student should be connected and should be supported by proper education. I really need that sort of help where we can be beside them for the hackathon teams, maybe for the students who are not being able to take their normal classes. Any sort of help I'm there, and I would love to meet the concerned people who can be beside to change the scenario of education in India and to let India show that every student matters to us, and this level of education can bring about a huge change in the whole world. It's high time, and huge thanks. It's the time of gratitude. We are thanking the doctors, the police, but being a member of Techno India Group, I really need to thank all the teaching faculty members, the teaching fraternity, to let them know that because of them, no school was closed. The school buildings were closed, the college buildings were closed, but no school was closed, no teaching was closed, no university was closed. Every class is going on and will go on. We have to strive to bring out the best for education, for skill development. Thank you so much. Thank you Mr. Dilip Shinoy, Mr. Rudra Chatterjee, and Mr. Anup Agarwal, and all the speakers for giving me this platform to speak. And I hope, we all hope, that we can really do something for the level of education and bringing up the quality of the country altogether. Thank you so much, Moshumi, for giving me this opportunity and to help me to speak. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you, Monushri, for your very encouraging words. We have a lot of students, and I'm sure they'll be very happy to know the kind of initiatives you've taken, because these are challenging times we are going through. Okay, we are running behind schedule. So without further, we would like to call upon Mr. Narendra Kumar Mahapatra, CEO, Electronic Sector Skills Council. Mr. Mahapatra, over to you.
Somebody has to, that's fine. Thank you. Thank you, Fiki. Thank you, Dilip. Thank you, Mr. Agarwal. I've been hearing a lot of points, but I will not speak too much, but I'll speak on very sensitive points. Skilling is not easy. Skilling is most needed, but most difficult thing to handle. We do handle formal education in a decent way, but skilling needs a lot of control and a lot of discipline to handle it correctly if you are bothered about outcome. Fortunately, Dilip knows it very well. With NSDC, we embarked on this journey to get into outcome-based training, and that's the best way one can get into skilling. We got into a framework of NSQF, outcome-based training, and we did build almost everything right in planning stage to make sure the skilling training can be effective and we can guarantee outcomes. And this outcome can only be guaranteed by design. It is not guaranteed by uncertainties or guaranteed by accident. It has to be guaranteed by planning, proper execution, and proper delivery. Everything is involved in this process. But the issue when we started from zero and over 5-6 years back, and we went on the journey, we saw there is a huge requirement for supply side strengthening. So we worked pretty hard on training partners, assessment companies to be part of us, to build around this outcome-based training to be delivered effectively. At the same time, our observation is there are not too many serious players who want to play this game long-term and deliver training. In many seminars and conferences, I hear skilling to be aspirational. For whom? If it is skilling to be aspirational for youth, yes, it's a good topic for the country. We talk. I will say it's a political agenda, but it is aspirational for all the stakeholders will make the sense. If it is not aspirational for a training partner, it is not aspirational for a trainer, it is not aspirational for an assessor. Just talking about skilling to be aspirational for youth is not going to matter. It is just going to be lip service we cannot deliver. Today, this sector has a tremendous amount of weakness. We have almost all trainers, all assessors, all facilities are hungry for good talent. And we expect to transform the talent who comes to us as dropouts or anything from anywhere to transform them to brilliant careers. So imagine the architects of all this transformation have to be strong first, whether it is lab or it is trainer or it is assessor or it is SSC or it is industry aligned courses, whatever we do. With all the bits and pieces not done right, expecting the transformation to be very fantastic doesn't work exactly. So we did this journey 4 or 5 years with the government. With the government, we have tremendous amount of pressure to meet targets, numbers, deliver things. So it is a mixed bag. I will not say very great, but yes, there is an opportunity. We have to hang on to demand-based approach rather than supply-based approach. To start with, we need supply-based approach because we started from zero. But with maturity, we have to change towards demand-based approach to make sure our outcomes are meaningful, our trainings are useful, our employments are assured. We have done a few things very interesting. And I still believe with the COVID situation, what I did for my company, I will tell you my story. I realized that for 3 months or 4 months, I have no work for my staff. So we said, how do we make our life doing video calls between us and chat every week, but look at opportunities outside the government schemes, how we can contribute to the society, doing some good work. and we came out with fantastic results. We came out with at least 5 or 6 programs, which are all very short term. They are 1 week or maximum 10 days of intervention. It can let anybody earn a livelihood in less than 10 days of intervention. A driver can become a digital technician. A electrician can become a Wi-Fi operator. We looked at all possible combination. What can be given to somebody in less than 10 days so that he can earn a livelihood? And we found tremendous amount of opportunities. We have already modeled about 10 courses on livelihoods, which can be done in very, very short-term interventions, and people can be made to work or made to earn their livelihood. And there are a few points Dilip touched. I would like to talk about them. We did ETOT, ETOA. I did 1 batch of ETOT, ETOA, 6 batches. Because of this specific point, we realized the teachers are idling, the assessors are idling. They also need a motivation. Many of them are part-time job seekers. They are doing not full-time jobs. So we thought to keep their enthusiasm on. I completed 1 ETOT and 6 batches of ETOA in this period. And also for L5, L6 courses, we have a program called Structured Technical Enhancement Program, which is to look for our engineers for better employability beyond a IT job or a regular engagement. Today, engineer looks for job. He doesn't look for quality engagement. He doesn't look for his outcome of his engagement. If you get a job, people feel very happy because our population is pretty big and we don't give job to everybody. So anybody who gets a job, he feels he's very lucky. But if you look at how are we utilizing our youth in terms of utilization, very poor. So if you use our engineers for core engineering jobs like design, test, validation, product-led manufacturing activities or startups or good kind of things, our country productivity will increase. Instead of job seekers, we will have job creators. We need to change this. And electronics has got tremendous requirement and it's got tremendous potential. The only challenge I have faced in electronics is not the number of jobs. It is the mismatch of demand and supply in terms of variety of jobs. It's not that we are wrong in our job understanding or through NOS committee, we do everything right. But the training partner community will pull into a job what they want to train for their sake, which is easy and convenient for them, not as for the demand side. So the ministry level planning or government level plannings are not happening on demand aligned, they're happening on supply aligned. So we are landing up into situations where supplies are far more in some job roles, demands are in some job role because of investment obstructions, people are not investing. So we have a tremendous amount of mismatch in demand supply within the job roles, but the total job role demand in electronics is very good and we are doing very great. And I'll give you specific examples. Even somebody talked about multiple job roles. We also find people should be trained on multiple job roles. And whenever people are not paid enough, I say people should be on flexi jobs. What Urban Club has started, we are trying to do something like that for Rural Club. We expect you give freedom to people, give them 4 hours of job, give them 5,000 rupees. They are happy. They will find out what to do for rest 4 hours themselves. But do not engage somebody for 10 hours and give him only 10,000 rupees. It doesn't work. Because today Ola, Uber driver, Swiggy, delivery boys are able to earn beyond 20,000 rupees. We can't be giving 10,000 rupees for a job. This is another weakness of the industry and the country we live in. We do not respect the minimum wages. The service job people are not paid correctly. People who are self-employed, they do make more money. They have more freedom. They are more happy. So job doesn't give actually happiness. Work freely, earn more, and get multiple capacities to earn. So we want to upskill an electrician with a home appliances or a digital technician with a Wi-Fi router. We give this multiple skills and the very short, small skills like 3 days, 2 days is enough to teach somebody. And we do, by doing this thing, a guy who is having multiple capability can earn probably much more money. And first thing is they will learn to be happy rather than depending on a job 9 to 5. This is the way thing is. So my best wishes for this day is we should be looking at demand aligned, futuristic courses, and that is all being done correctly. But whenever we get into a government schemes or arrangements, we somehow get mixed up with the supply side influence and not able to make it 100% demand aligned. This is my challenge. I'm on it. I would like to get into more into L5, L6 job roles, more into design innovations, and we see India can be a global talent supplier, particularly in electronics design and product manufacturing. And we are seeing a lot of opportunity in this COVID itself. I have 80,000 jobs in mobile manufacturing, which is mainly because of China is closing down. Many of the plants are shifting to India. I'm a bit lucky for electronics, but we don't have shortage of jobs. So we have to make up our mind, what are we doing and how to align things rightly. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mahapatra. And now we will invite our Logistics Committee Chair and our MSME Chair, Mr. Pramod Srivastava and Mr. Chhajar, to speak on the industry perspective. Mr. Srivastava, you can just quickly, we are running badly behind time, so I request you to restrict your speeches to 3 minutes each. Thank you.
Yeah. Good evening to all of you. I am Pramod Srivastava. I'm heading a logistic company, and we are celebrating this World Youth Skill for the 5th year. And I feel that basically I will take away to different logistic perspective, because learning is one of the important things where we see changes in all the activities. So skilling, reskilling and upskilling, these all things are required, and for these purposes I have a different view altogether. I will give a different perspective, because we feel that logistic trade has got a lot of opportunity, and MSME is also adding to value to further on this. But there are a lot of opportunities are there in respect of employment is concerned. But I have personally feel that still there are lack of knowledge, lack of logistic skill council are there. So it is required to be made out in a manner which is required by the industries. I have come across of Pradhan Mantri Kausal Vikas Yojana, which is a portal which is developed for the skilling part. So I found out that probably people are not going into that much, but it is not updated every time. But we see that as regard to the skilling is concerned, nowadays driver, if I take example of a driver, so drivers are also getting a B6 stage car, that is Bharat stage 6. So there are a lot of upgradation is being made. So skilling is also a part of that. So there has to be a upgrading, but upgrading in every way. We have in young age, I have found out that if you read, if you learn something in today that is outdated after 4 years, now that 4 years has become shorter to 2 years. So every day skilling is required. And Pradhan Mantri Kausal Vikas Yojana, I found out that it is very useful, but it is not utilized properly in our state. We look forward to the government to see that how we can make use of in proper way, like we have no provision of licenses for the handler of forklift drivers. So there is no system of licensing them in a proper manner. So these things I will try to highlight. And as regard to the future is concerned, the skill future perspective it is training not only yourself. I see that your employee should also be trained in a normal general manner, and it is a requirement of the day. And as regard to the training is concerned, we have also planned to have the training for the drivers and the operators and the handlers of the goods. The project is pending with the West Bengal government. I think they are looking into it, and they will come back to us very soon. With this, I am very much keen always to interact on the subject. Skilling is a process, it is a continuous process. With this, I have to thank to Vicky for giving me opportunity, and I wanted to wrap up here quickly because Mosmi has already given us time.
Sorry, we are running a little bit.
So I just wanted to finish and thank you everybody. Thank you Rudro, thank you Dilip ji, thank you Mosmi, thank you all of you, all the participation, because we are lot of things we can do on the logistic, on skilling,
Yes.
the total thing. So I will be doing it, and I will be interacting with all of you after some time. Thank you.
Thank you. And now Mr. R.K. Chhajar, FICCI MSME State Committee Chairman, will speak. Mr. Chhajar is also the chairman of Vikrant Forge and will talk about his industry. and how skilling is the initiatives maybe placed so that West Bengal can come up with these jobs. Yeah.
Thank you, Mosmi, and good evening to all the panelists and the participants. I am starting with a disadvantage, and that is that I am the last speaker, and the time has been limited to a very, very short time by Mosmi, so I have to listen to her. Otherwise, I'll not be in the next panel. So I take this day as a Youth Skill Day, and I am kind of finding myself as a youth because this is a Youth Skill Day, and I still continue to learn. So I believe I remain a youth still now. And I think Mr. Mahapatra has very right that it has to be skill, and we have always confused ourselves with education and skilling, you see. And as so far as skilling is concerned, we have started very late, because if you go back maybe a few years back, you will always find that people doing PhD but not finding jobs. Whereas, as Mr. Mahapatra rightly mentioned, going from an ambassador to the present automatic car is a kind of skill that can be brought in, and which is what we are trying to do. Talking of simulation only, as Mr. Devnath pointed out, is not enough, because it can only teach you certain things, but being on the car or on the aeroplane, that's altogether different. It has to be on the sea. So far as government of West Bengal is concerned, I thank Mr. Agrawal and his job and going to each block of the state to develop this thing. And we already have ITIs, a number of them in the PPP model, so which gives us a head start. And coming to my industry, you see, we are into food and forging industry, where great amount of skill is required, because you are handling steel at a temperature of around 1300, 1400 degrees. And but there is no skill development in this region, in this area. And it's a very specialized job. And this normally is being transferred from generation after the generation, like say a goldsmith's son is becoming a goldsmith, so is in our industry. And basically all the people that we get from are maybe fourth or fifth generation who are not working, are now working. And they are spread all over India, right from Punjab to West Bengal, and coming from the region of Ghaziabad and Meerut, most of the things. And future jobs creation will depend that how much we can develop our youth to take up any assignment so far as skilling is concerned. And it has to be multitasking. For example, me as an entrepreneur, I have always found myself to be multitasking always, you see, doing this and that and that. And although I'm not an engineer, but to talk about forging and how it will behave and what kind of treatment has to be done, I am more or less an engineer because of the job on the hand. So one has to keep on learning, and skilling is the best way of doing that. And I'm glad to mention that with the assistance of Government of West Bengal, a beautiful foundry park has come in here. And therein again, we have put up ITI in association with Government of West Bengal. And right now we have 120 youth being trained there, especially in the foundry area. But then again, as I said, multitasking is the thing, and they have to be learning all the aspects of foundry, just not casting or just the teaming or just pouring. They have to be trained in all the aspects. And I'm glad that the way Mr. Mahapatra sees the thing and the way he mentioned it, that is the way we should also be looking at developing our youth. we do multitasking. And before I end, I should mention that today's children are already multitasking, you see. Children as young as maybe 3 years, 4 years, they know how to operate the computer, which I in my younger age couldn't have done that. As Rudra rightly mentioned, that we started with typewriters, but now we are onto tablets, and we continue to learn that. But today's child, he or she, he can handle the tablets as efficiently as probably I can do, or maybe better than me. So with these words, I thank you, Mosmi, and the entire panel of FICCI to organize this Youth Skills Day. And I hand it back to Mr. Chatterjee to kindly wrap it up.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chajar. And I would now request our last speaker, Mr. Narendra Kumar Sham Shukla, Chairman, IC Edu Skills Private Limited. Is Mr. Shukla here?
Mr. Sham Shukla.
Yes.
Unmute, yeah. So hi, good evening, everyone. Being last speaker, so it's very challenging because almost everything has been, told by my previous speakers. Still, I would like to add one thing. That is, see, the skilling is what, ultimately it is the search of something what somebody can deliver, what is required by industry. So I started my journey around 20 years back, and the skilling, it all started with the comment of one of my client, कि यार ढंग का आदमी नहीं मिलता है. And I was searching, यार ये ढंग का आदमी क्या होता है? Then trying to understand what is the meaning of that, I understood the meaning is the person can deliver what employer want. So if we talk whether it is a demand driven thing, it is a supply driven thing, whether it is a technology is changing, the items are changing. See, the world will keep changing. Like the COVID, nobody could anticipate, such kind of situation can come. And in this kind of the situation also, so we have to live, not only live, we have to plan and we have to, thrive. So the ultimate thing is understanding the entire skilling, I feel, is very simple. First, understanding what employer want for the particular job role. Second is the, how we can train the candidate on that in the small, practical, workable items. So say suppose a particular job role, if I need the only 3 items, let me make somebody master into these 3 items. Instead of giving the gyan of entire, 10 or 20 items, that, the candidate should know this also, that also, it's not required. What is required is for particular job role, what is the 2 or 3 item or 1 item in which the candidate should be perfect. Obviously, the infrastructure has to be there, the trainer has to be there, and somewhere I feel, as on today also, the biggest challenge in the entire skilling is the trainers. If we can have the good trainer and we can motivate them, then only we can get the result, else it is impossible. And ultimately, the last thing is practice, practice, practice. So keep it simple, 1 or 2 item, what is required by employer, and these the things keep on changing. When I started skilling 20 years back in 1999, there was no sector skill council, there was no NSDC, there was no government system procedure. Really today we are thankful to NSDC, we are thankful to the entire system which has been created, and it is evolving. So anybody who want to do something, the skilling, a lot of things are ready-made available. But again, we need to keep the end objective is in mind, that is the student what we are training, he should be employable, he should be workable. If he is employable, if he is workable, I feel the purpose of the skilling, purpose of all we are working together, all we are, putting a lot of efforts and doing all our bit is really meaningful. Otherwise, as we understand, the lot of things happen. A World Skilling Day is happening, as the other lot of day are happening. We are, celebrating the Father Day, Mother Day, Similarly, the one more day is there, and that's all. So I am very enjoying this. I am very hopeful, and as I see that the ecosystem is getting developed, lot of people, not only that so the people who are not able to get education, but a lot of people who got the education but still they are applying for a much lower type of the job, and that is the result when we are seeing that a post of Havaldar and people of the PhD, people of the postgraduate are applying. The reason is again the things are not matching, which is the what is being required and what is getting delivered. So let's hope for the best, and let's everyone keep putting our best so that we can improve the things, we can improve the system, and the candidate who are coming with a great hope, they should be employable, they can get the job, and as well as the industry, if they are getting value addition from the employee or the candidate, then only they are going to evaluate, else not. So with that, thanks Fiki, thanks Dilip, thanks everyone putting all us together, and definitely it's a very knowledgeable session and getting the views of everyone. Thank you.
Thank you all. As we come to the end, I would like to say just one thing, that thank you everybody for joining. And if you heard Principal Secretary Technical Education and Training, he has said that he's open to all ideas. We are going through very challenging times. So I really hope that if you have any ideas which you would like to take it up with the government, any projects, please write to the email ID from where you got the invitation. And we will certainly take it up in a consistent manner with the government to see that if we can work out any kind of proposals, any kind of partnerships with the state government. And a lot of students are here today. There's a very young startup. We have Taposh and Debanjan. They are actually training BFSI professionals. And these are kind of examples which I always like to give, because we are all moving in a world that we may not have any set pattern. We have to come up and improvise and do skilling and do entrepreneurship. So before I end, I'll just introduce Taposh. Taposh, you may just like to say 1 minute and what you're doing, and it'll, I think, inspire some of the young crowd here to kind of take up these kind of courses and do things on their own. Taposh, are you here? I think the connection is gone.
Yeah, am I audible here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just 1 minute, Taposh. I just wanted to introduce you all, because I'm always very happy when I see young startups from Bengal and doing well.
Yeah, thank you, Mushimi. Thank you to the entire team of Fiki. First of all, a wonderful event. I really witnessed something wonderful for on a day which is so important to all of us. I'll just take this 1 minute opportunity to tell we are International Institute of Research and Wealth Management, and we focus on skill development, but in a very niche area called financial planning and wealth management. We've seen in India, there has been there's a huge gap between industry and academia. And as we cater to the BFSI sector, we've always got a feedback from the corporates that they really lack the right skill set when they approach the aspiring students to join them. So we basically have collaboration with non-profit boards of US and UK, and we are getting the best practices globally in the field of financial planning and wealth management to India and to the students of India. And I believe these global best practices in financial planning and wealth management will go a long way to shape up the required skill set in the youths, so that we don't have to basically talk about the employment issue that we have always been talking about. I think the problem is with employability more than with employment. And I think this initiative of ours is trying to cater to this this gap, just in the way everybody else is also catering to. Thank you, Mushumi. I hope.
You. Thank you all for joining, and you could please write to us if you have any ideas on the skill development space, and we'd be happy to take it forward. Thank you for joining. Thank you, panelists. Thank you for joining, and we'll be in touch. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.